So coming up this weekend is going to be UFC 320, and this is a really solid card, and I am sorry for putting this out really late. Honestly, it was a combination of things. The first thing was I did have a pretty busy week at the start of the week. The second thing was I didn't realize what day it was of the week, and then also yesterday I did spend the entire day traveling for a dental appointment, well more so a prosthodontist appointment. But anyways, I also lost my voice yesterday in the car because I was road raging, because I think yesterday God decided that it was a good day to try and kill me, because there were people on the road that were doing some insane things, and I swear, man, like you know, anyways, let's move on. That's another story for another day. First fight on the topology belt order of the card, which I don't think is going to be fully correct, but I'm going to roll with it. Veronica Hardy does take on Brogan Walker. Veronica Hardy is minus 600, maybe even wider at this point, but I do think that Veronica Hardy does win as a minus 825 favorite. I just kind of think that Hardy's showing really good improvements in her return to MMA. Her striking's a lot better than Brogan Walker. Walker doesn't possess like a striking threat. She doesn't possess a wrestling threat like Eduardo Mora did, who had a lot more power, a lot more size than her as well. I just don't think that there really is a way for Brogan Walker to win this fight, and Brogan Walker lost to Juliana Miller by KO. That's kind of all you need to know about this fight. I think Hardy wins. Hardy might even find a finish as well to start off the card. Ramiz Brahimaj does take on Austin Vanderford here, and Brahimaj has been on a bit of a run recently and has actually been proving me wrong, especially in his last fight against Billy Goff, which he pulled off a pretty sick guillotine in round number 1, and he knocked out Mickey Gall. I actually picked Gall and Goff to beat him back to back, but if that kind of tells you everything, it kind of tells you that I don't really have that much high thoughts on Brahimaj's skill sets, really, but he has been improving, he has been getting better. But I also think against Vanderford, Vanderford's also going to possess a pretty tough sort of matchup for Brahimaj, because he's a really big wrestler. Like, Vanderford is massive for the weight class, and he's not really going to mess around on the feet, in my opinion, too much for Brahimaj to maybe get some strikes off. Not that Brahimaj is the best striker in the world. He really is a round 1 submission grappler. But I think that Vanderford can get his takedowns here. As long as he avoids the submissions, I think that Vanderford will probably win a decision, just kind of using wrestling and control. We can move up to Pillow Hands Punahele as he does take on Nikolay Veretennikov. I do think that this is a step up in competition for Veretennikov, and Veretennikov hasn't really been proving that he can beat this level of competition so far in his UFC run. You could argue he lost to Francisco Prado, and then he lost to Vanderford, who's fighting earlier on in the card, and he lost to Barlow in what was a pretty interesting sort of matchup, really. But I do think that Punahele Soriano is going to go out there, and I think that he can put the hands on Veretennikov and mix in some offensive wrestling. Now, we have seen Soriano taken down and controlled a lot in his career, but we've also seen Soriano get some takedowns and fumble finishes like crazy. So we'll see if Soriano can get the finish here. I mean, history kind of shows that sometimes he can, most of the time he can't, but he did get a knockout against Uroš in the last fight. But yeah, who knows? I still cannot believe that he could not finish Miguel Baeza after he was beating the absolute piss out of him for about 13 minutes of that fight. I think Pillow Hands Punahele does win the fight, though. He probably does find a knockout as well. And now Patchy Mix takes on Jakub Wiklacz. Jakub Wiklacz is a guy I'm really excited about to see fight in the UFC. And honestly, I really did spend a bit of time considering picking him as the underdog here. The problem is, I actually think that he's a really good matchup for Patchy Mix to beat. Because Wiklacz is also a grappler, and this is the thing about Mix, man. Like, you would not believe it given how absolutely stiff and awful he looked against Batista, and the fact he didn't really offensively wrestle at all. Mix is a really, really good grappler, man. And he just never really got it off against Batista at all. The thing is, Wiklacz is also a grappler, and the thing is, Wiklacz is going to be bringing the offensive grappling to Mix. But the thing is, for Wiklacz to get the fight down to the ground, he kind of relies on like a lot of more so like judo throws or hip throws or even like kind of awkward like clinch trips. And I do strongly believe these are takedown attempts that Mix is going to be able to defend and reverse. And Mix is going to end up putting himself in good positions, kind of based off of the takedown style that Jakub Wiklacz does bring. So with that being said, I think that Mix is going to win this fight. On the feet, I think Mix might even be the better striker, if you can believe it. Now, I know Mix's striking is so stiff, it's awful. He doesn't move his head. You cannot have this flat-footedness, non-head movement style at 135 pounds, one of the more talented divisions. I mean, I would argue it's pretty dead right now, but one of the more talented divisions in the UFC. You just can't do that, and it does scare me. But I think that Mix, honestly, if you do watch his Bellator fight, which I did, in a moment of pure cope after seeing him get smoked by Batista, he's always fought with this flat-footed style. It's just that no one in Bellator was able to punish him for it, really. And I don't think that Wiklacz is going to be able to either. I think we are going to see Mix be able to kind of get a good comeback win here, just kind of based on the fact that Wiklacz is going to bring the grappling to him. And now Macy Chiasson takes on Yana Santos. I think Macy Chiasson does win this fight. I don't really know what to say aside from the fact that I think that Macy Chiasson is going to be significantly stronger. I think she's going to hit harder on the feet. And I actually think Chiasson's quite good. And despite being 34 years old, I think there was a time, or there maybe still is a time, where you could actually see her fight for a title at some point, believe it or not, because she was beating Irene Aldana, and then she got kicked to the liver when she was standing, and Aldana was on her back. If she won that, she probably would have gotten a title shot, let's be honest. She did lose to Vieira, but once again, if she beat Vieira, she would have been in the title conversations. I think this is a step down in competition for her. Yana Santos kind of fights with a very awkward Muay Thai style. I just don't think she hits as hard as Chiasson. I mean, she's beaten Chelsea Chandler and Misha Tate. I mean, these are... Yeah, I don't know. I just think that... I really think Chiasson's quite good. I quite was high on her skill set coming off the Ultimate Fighter for her. And I think that she kind of has been proven to be kind of like a mainstay at the top of the top. Whereas Yana Santos is kind of just re-entering the top after kind of a bunch of losses. I like Chiasson. I think she wins. Let's move up to this fight, which is very interesting because it is Daniel Santos as he does take on Ju Sengyu. And this fight is going to be a very, very tough one to predict because we're going to have probably the most popular underdog on the card in Ju Sengyu. And I know why he's the underdog. Trust me. If you do watch his regional scene fights, it is very iffy. And that is what everyone was saying about him coming into the matchup against Yekisaragi was Ju Sengyu's regional scene fights were looking really iffy. But the thing is, I think he's going to present like a pretty tough matchup for Daniel Santos in the way that he can offensively wrestle. And if he does offensively wrestle, I think he's chilling. But if he strikes with Daniel Santos and he's fallen in love with his hands based off his KO win over Chikasaragi, that's where we get into some really, really scary situations. Because Daniel Santos is going to be the much better striker in this matchup. And I think he's going to be able to kick the legs of Ju Sengyu at kind of at will, really. I don't think that Ju Sengyu is going to be able to really punish Daniel Santos' Muay Thai style. But I think that we still are going to see a bit of a slight size advantage in Ju Sengyu's favor. And if he can use that to go out there and get the wrestling going, I think we do see Ju Sengyu win this fight. But this is a very low confidence pick. I think that this is going to be probably the most popular underdog on the card is Ju Sengyu, and I am gonna go with it. I don't think he's gonna win by knockout. I think it's gonna be a decision. Daniel Santos fought at 145 recently against Young Lee. And before that, he was, of course, at 135 pounds. I think we are going to see Ju Sengyu win this matchup, though. And now we can move up to Farid Basharat as he does take on Chris Gutierrez. I think that we are going to see Chris Gutierrez kind of get exposed again because he does lose to this sort of style of skill set. Now, I think I actually picked John Castaneda to beat Chris Gutierrez as well, now that I really think about it. But we've kind of seen that Chris Gutierrez, he does kind of lose to guys that can pressure him, that have, honestly, as well, pretty solid boxing. Even Kwang Le, who has not had a good UFC run, if you watch that fight was relatively competitive as well. And Kwang Le did take that fight on short notice. It's funny, this is his fight Farid. Now he's fighting Javid. Now he's fighting Farid. And I think Farid is the better of the two brothers for sure. And I think it's kind of been proven now that Javid's been losing. But Farid Basharat, very, very good offensive wrestling. I mean, we've seen him go out there. I mean, Alan Bagoso is really talented. All of this guy's wins are really good. I would even say Victor Hugo's probably his worst win on this run here, except for one is not like the rest. But Lepolis is well known for having incredible takedown defense, always. Blackshear's a really good win as well, to be able to go out there and box up and out wrestle as well. I just think that he's going to be able to implement what Farid Basharat is good at doing against Chris Gutierrez. I don't think I've really broken that down in a way that makes a lot of sense, but that's what I think happens. I do think that Chris Gutierrez is the kind of guy that has been kind of showing that he can get pressured, he can get boxed up. We haven't really seen him just get out-wrestled before, because Chris Gutierrez does have great takedown defense, but I think that Farid Basharat, I said that about Taylor Lapolis, that Taylor Lapolis has great takedown defense, and we saw Farid go out there and take him down. I think we are going to see Farid go out there again and just kind of win with his own sort of style against Chris. Now, Edmund Shabazian takes on Andre Muniz. Absolutely terrifying fight, which if I could choose to not pick, I wouldn't. And I do not understand why Edmund Shabazian is minus 300, dude. Edmund Shabazian, if you guys know anything about Edmund Shabazian, it is throughout his entire career, if he takes on someone that can take him down, he's going to fumble a little bit. And yes, he did beat Andrei Petroski, but Petroski kind of ain't really that good. But he was on a massive run. A lot of people thought he was going to be the next champion. Like, I mean, you've got to have been there to have seen it. I mean, especially when he knocked out Tavares, who was notoriously tough in 2019. We thought that he was going to go on and do great things, and then he just took on guys that could take him down, and that wrestling was really exposed, man. And now he's taken on someone else that can wrestle and grapple, and it's going to present that BJJ threat. But the thing is, Muniz hasn't been on a good run. I think he actually lost, I was going to say, to Paul Craig, and then got knocked out by Yakram Aliskarov as well. I think as long as this fight's on the feed, Edmund Shabazian's going to be live to knock him out. But this is not a fight which I would be laying minus 300 on Edmund Shabazian, man. I really do believe that there's value in kind of, sorry, I just hit my microphone, sprinkling on Andre Muniz, just given the fact that Shabazian has fumbled these matchups before. But I think that Shabazian does win. I'm going to pick Shabazian to win by knockout in round number 1. But a submission wouldn't surprise me by any means. And now Ateba Gautier takes on Tristan Vines. Now, I have seen his name without this little apostrophe here, so maybe it's Tristan Vines. I'm going to say Tristan Vines, but I do think that Gautier is going to knock him out. I don't even know if there's odds out for this yet, because the fight was just announced, I believe, yesterday. I did look into Tristan Vines, and he's actually a welterweight, or at least he fought at welterweight for most of his career. And the thing is, about him was, at first I was like, I don't know who this guy is. And then I was like, no way, because I actually watched his fight against Chris Mixon when I was doing tape study for Chris Mixon versus Joey Hart and Kenley St. Louis as well. Anyways, I got sidetracked, but he's been on a win streak then. He's moved up to 185 since then. I've watched a bunch of his wins. I've watched a bunch of his losses as well. Jalen Fuller as well. He's really good. Way better than that record suggests. Anyway, sorry, so the guys that he's lost to are pretty good. Raheem Forrest, I think, is going to be something one day, even though he's been on a bad run recently. He knocked him out in 26 seconds. Vines failed to take down Forrest, just caught him, knocked him out stiff on the feet. Mixon, he just out-wrestled because Mixon's a boxer. And then after that, he moved up to 185, and he did take a step down in competition. So Vines is a wrestler, and he's very small. I even thought that he looked pretty small at 170 pounds because Chris Mixon was a lot bigger than him as well. But Ateba Gautier is massive, 185 pounds. He's got really big power. He's built like a brick house. I mean, this guy's build is insane. These genetics that a lot of these guys from Africa have, like even in bodybuilding, it's just ridiculous. He's just a big boy. He's got a lot of power. He knocked out Valentin. He knocked out Medina. He knocked out the GOAT, the King of Pancrase, Urinato. I think his takedown defense is going to be good enough. I think he knocks out Vines here. He's 23 years old. I think after this, they probably give him another step up in competition. Be interesting to see what the situation is, but I think that Gautier is going to knock him out. Now, Joe Pyfer takes on Abus Magomedov. Abus Magomedov has been on a bit of a run recently after he kind of was exposed for being a little bit fraudulent, but I always kind of did believe in the skill set because he actually is, for 185 pounds, a very talented striker. He's got really good kicks, really good kickboxing in general, in my opinion. Even though he gassed out hilariously 3 minutes in against Sean Strickland, I thought he still kind of showed pretty solid techniques in that first round. And then after that, he did lose, of course, to Brahimaj, but Brahimaj just went on to fight in a title eliminator. And now, you know, he's been cane crushing a little bit, but he's back in there against Joe Pyfer. I mean, Mikhail Pereira is not a cane crush, but Pereira's been exposed a little bit himself, but just no cardio, man. Again, he had the same problem at 170. Are we going to see Mikhail Pereira at light heavyweight? Joe Pyfer, I think, presents like a pretty similar skill set, probably even more of a offensively wrestling skill set as well, if that's the word for it. But I also think he possesses more power. I think he possesses more power in the hands. And the thing about Joe is he actually did catch Gastelum pretty early on. And he also knocked out Marc-Andre Barriol. He lost, but he also been catching all of these guys. I think he's going to get another knockout here. I think he's going to catch Abus Magomedov again in this matchup. I think for Abus to win, he needs to fight a perfect fight over 3 rounds and win a decision. I think Pyfer's just going to knock him out on the feet. So give me Pyfer by KO in round number 1. And now Josh Emmett as he takes on Youssef Zalal. I don't want to hear none of this nonsense, guys. Josh Emmett's the hardest hitter at 145. All of this blabber. When he knocked out Bryce Mitchell, that was his first knockout since 2019. I was still in high school in 2019. That is how long it went without a Josh Emmett knockout win. My mum was still alive in 2019 as well. But that's how long it was, guys. It was a very, very long time ago. I think that Youssef Zalal does beat him. Now, obviously, Josh Emmett, despite me just kind of clowning on him, Josh Emmett, he is going to possess a KO threat. But I think Zalal has kind of proven, man, that he can fight through a lot, dude. He's got a lot of cardio. I know that against Qatar, he just kind of gave the 3rd round up. And this fight is a prime example. A prime example, guys, of why open scoring doesn't work. Because the fighter that's 2 rounds ahead just takes the 3rd round off and it ends up being terrible. You know, Zalal knew he was 2 rounds up. So what's the point in trying, you know? And after that as well, Zalal, he's just been kind of on a streak, man. Like, he beat Jack Shaw, he submitted Jack Shaw. Jack Shaw moving up to 145 was career suicide, though. He was always a bantamweight. Moving up to 145 was the worst decision anyone could have ever made. And then he beat Qatar. And I also think that Emmett, like, this is going to sound crazy, but Emmett and Qatar are, like, similar in stylistic fights, right? I think that Emmett does hit a lot harder, though, than Qatar does. And he's got a lot more kick sort of variation. I think also you would say that Emmett's takedown defense is better than Qatar's. So just in all sort of areas, it is a step up in competition for Zalal. But I think that Zalal's proven himself right now to kind of be able to beat Emmett. Now, do I think that Zalal has proven himself to the point where he should be a minus 400 favorite over Josh Emmett? Maybe not. But I do think that Zalal's going to go out there and he's going to beat Josh Emmett by decision. Now, Yuri Prochazka does take on Khalil Rountree. I'm going to pick Yuri Prochazka in this matchup. Now, I do have some reservations, and I think there are some very good reasons to pick Khalil Rountree in this matchup. Yuri, he doesn't check leg kicks, and Khalil Rountree throws leg kicks. Yuri claims he doesn't do tape study. He probably should, because Khalil is going to be kicking that leg. He's going to be kicking that body we know Yuri is going to go out there and just ignore the leg kicks, ignore the body kicks, and it's going to be a little bit scary. But I still do believe in Yuri's movement and Yuri's ability to kind of fight at range over Khalil, especially given the fact that he is going to have a pretty significant height and reach advantage here. And that is going to work well for Yuri, because Yuri, he does crash the pocket a lot. Like, he does just kind of just run head first into the pocket and then throw his combo. I love his style, man. I really do. But I also still think that Khalil Rountree isn't going to be able to really punish him for that. I don't know if Khalil Rountree's like going to be able to sort of like catch Yuri coming in. And honestly, I think there's going to be a lot of people out there picking Khalil as the dog for that reason, and probably are very justifiably in that sort of way. But I'm kind of talking myself out of picking Yuri. But the thing about Yuri is I think he's also just more well-rounded. Like, we have seen some offensive wrestling in Yuri in the past. We've also seen the fact that Yuri can, find top control, find submission attempts and stuff like that. Khalil Rountree, he's never attempted a takedown in the UFC. He never will. He's just a Muay Thai guy. His fan base are like, oh, he just fights like crazy, bro. Like, I don't know. I think Yuri. That was the worst breakdown I think I've ever given in the channel's history. But Merab takes on Cory Sandhagen. Listen, guys, I respect it when you pick Cory Sandhagen, because I understand. I've been there. I've been there. I've picked Cory Sandhagen to beat Umar Magomedov. Now, of course, Umar Magomedov had only fought one person in the rankings at this point, so he was very unproven. And my justification for picking Cory Sandhagen was I thought that he was going to be able to stop the takedowns, and when the fight was on the feet, be able to punish Umar Magomedov. Umar's pressure kind of stopped Cory Sandhagen's ability to do what he does best, which is strike from range and also just be a bit of a submission threat as well. And the thing is, guys, like, a few years ago, like, I probably mean, like, 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago, I would have picked Sandhagen to beat Merab. But Merab just kind of keeps looking better and better and better. And I just don't know if I can pick Sandhagen. Now, would I like Sandhagen to win? Yeah. Do I see a path to victory for Sandhagen? I do. Because the thing about Cory Sandhagen is he is one of the best strikers, I would say, in the UFC. And I think his fight against Petr Yan, despite he lost, this was one of the best fights of the year. I think he won Fight of the Year in 2021. It was amazing. Kind of proved that he's up there with the best in the striking sort of department. And then after that, went on a bit of a run. This was not a split. This was unanimous. Like, the judge, pre-written scorecard for Marlon on that fight. And then we started to see a lot more wrestling. I mean, it was about this period of time we saw a lot more offensive wrestling out of Cory Sandhagen. And I was like, dude, he's working on his wrestling. He's going to be able to defend the takedowns of of Umar. And he's going to be able to punish Umar on the feet. But then, to my surprise, Umar was beating Cory Sandhagen on the feet. Now, do I think that Merab Dvalishvili is as good at striking as Umar Magomedov? Not really, even though I know that he did beat him. I still think that Merab is not going to be able to punish Cory on the feet necessarily, but I don't think he's going to be lost against Cory on the feet. And a lot of Cory's best strikes are, they're like jumping knees, there's some spinning attacks as well. He kicks a lot from range. He's kind of has a lot of awkward sort of strikes. And these things aren't really strikes you can do on the back foot against a wrestler. And Merab's just not going to let Cory Sandhagen take a forward step. And Merab's just going to be doing his thing. He's going to be shooting his takedowns. He's going to be, just kind of just keep going. Just getting those takedowns, man. I don't really know what else to say. I think Merab does beat Cory Sandhagen. And honestly, man, like, as sad as it is, because the division is dead because of Merab's title reign, I just don't think anyone beats him for a long time. So I'm just going to kind of keep picking Merab until someone somehow beats him. And, like, I don't even know what it's going to take to beat Merab, because I feel like you could look at previous Merab performances and kind of see where people have found success. Like Jose Aldo, if Jose Aldo was just a little bit more aggressive in round number 2, he could have put an end to this fuckery, but he wasn't. He wasn't, and it sucks. But anyways, I think that Merab Dvalishvili does win. Here we go, guys. This is the big one. I'm picking Alex Pereira. And I know I can see all of the comments. I know what the comments are gonna say, but you need to listen to me. And this is how I see the fight, right? I thought Alex won the first fight, and that's not even a hot take. I think more than 50% of people on MMA Decisions thought that Alex Pereira won the first fight. I think about 50% of journalists thought that Alex Pereira won the first fight. So I'm not hidden under a rock, like on some sort of delusional island, thinking that Alex Pereira won the first fight by decision, right? And the way that I view the fight is, Alex Pereira did what I was most worried about. He defended every single takedown of Magomed and Ankalaev. And I think the argument that people have is, oh, but Magomed and Ankalaev, he didn't get a takedown and he still won. But the thing is, that argument doesn't work for me because I scored the fight for Alex Pereira. I thought he did more damage across 3 rounds. And when I heard a 4-1 scorecard, unanimous, I honestly thought that they were scoring it for Alex. I could not believe that Saudi Amato gave it 49-46 for Magomed and Ankalaev. But hear me out on this one, right? And I'm just going to say this right now. I think there are going to be some people that are going to go out there and kind of give Alex Pereira the excuses, the health issues, this and that. I think that's nonsense, man. I think it's like norovirus people are trying to claim he had when he fought Magomed and Ankalaev. I've never had this virus, but apparently if you have this virus, you are constantly shitting and vomiting. Did Alex Pereira look like he was about to shit and vomit all over the octagon when he fought against Ankalaev? I don't think so. So I don't think he had norovirus. I don't even think he was ill. I think what probably happened was he was in Australia like 2 weeks before doing seminars and stuff because the fight I think was put together on somewhat short notice, and I think Alex Pereira just like underestimated Ankalaev and just kind of just didn't really give a shit, to be honest. And now I think that he's lost. He has. Like, you see him on Instagram, he's yapping, man. He is absolutely yapping. And you could see there's a negative, I see it as a positive, because it just kind of shows me that Pereira cares. He gives a shit. And I think that he's not going to go out there and underestimate Magomed and Ankalaev for a second time. As for Ankalaev, how does Ankalaev win the fight? The same way he managed to get the decision in the first fight. Pressure, pressure, pressure. For some reason, the judges do not give a shit about the main part of the scoring criteria if you are the person that's moving forward. So Ankalaev just needs to keep on moving forward. He needs to avoid the big shots of Alex Pereira. He could even catch Alex Pereira as well, because Pereira, you know, he did get rocked, and I believe multiple moments, 2 rounds he was rocked in, which are the rounds that I gave Ankalaev on the feet. And I think from there, that's kind of how you're going to get Alex, is by hurting him on the feet. I think also a way that you can probably get Alex pretty early on is just don't let Alex Pereira just kick your legs out from underneath you. That is something that Ankalaev did very well to sort of avoid, even though he was getting his legs kicked out from underneath him throughout the entire matchup. Once again, why I thought Alex won the fight on damage, but just kind of needs to keep doing that again. So, with that being said, yes, I am picking Alex Pereira to win this matchup, and yes, I am picking Alex Pereira to win by knockout. Like, I thought he won the first fight. That's what it comes down to, guys. And I'm not even on the island. I'm in the majority on that sake. So, I'm going to pick Alex, and I'm going to pick Alex to win by KO. My PFL picks will be out tomorrow. I've also committed to a few things as well. Like if Yuri Prochazka wins by KO, I'm going to get a custom stamped beach towel, which is, I fucking love Yuri Prochazka. I'll probably edit this video and chuck those things up there. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.